Okay, Goodreads, we really need to have a talk. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Bree and this is For a Pause in a Book. Welcome to the rant video that I do every single year where I talk about the books that Goodreads forgot about because Goodreads is not inclusive. That's all I'm gonna say. That's not all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say a lot more. Now I am refilming this video and the first one that I did was very ranty. I went off. Unfortunately, the audio didn't connect and no one will see that footage. It's fine. Now, if you watched my Goodreads predictions video, I picked 20 books that I thought was going to be in the romantasy category. And you know what? I was really confident. Going in, I was like, this is a great list. I only got 10 of them right. I'm not gonna talk too in depth about like the other 10 because I already did an entire video about them, but I do have 2 that I want to talk about. And then there's the other categories. And I want to say specifically about the romance category, that one I think is the most disappointing for sure. That's the one where the covers look exactly like they have every single year with very white people on them and very straight people on them. And so if you understand what I'm talking about, I'm saying that there is no diversity in there, like 0. I think there were 2 POC authors and it's Anna Huang and Kennedy Ryan, so like they're always on it. And it's just starting to feel like those are like the only 2 authors of color that Goodreads knows about. And like there's not a single queer book that I know of that is in that book. There might be some queer representation in some of the ones that I've seen, but like there is no Achillean romance, there is no sapphic romance, and that is just so frustrating. It's one of the reasons why I decided I didn't want to do the romance category of Goodreads because like I had this problem back in 2022 when I did it, and it's not getting any better in 2025. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about the books that Goodreads forgot about. Now, not all of the ones that I have on this list are ones that like I think should be on there because they are queer, they are representative of, you know, minorities. Some of those are merely surprises. Some of them I'm just like, how did Goodreads forget about this? I don't understand. I am gonna start with romantasy first. I have 2 of them I want to talk about. One of them I did talk about in my predictions, but one of them I actually forgot about, and I thought like afterwards I was like, oh wait, that one probably will be on there, and it wasn't. Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the one I would have voted for. I know it probably wouldn't have made the top 10, but this is the one that I would have voted for. And so like, I don't know, I loved this book. I had so much fun with this book. It's like very nostalgic urban fantasy. It has, you know, demons and hell, and like there's a lot of like religious inspiration to it. Not in a way that like this is a religious book, but in the way that it is like we're taking inspiration from the lore of religion. I don't know, I just had so much fun with this book, and it was a 5-star, and it'll probably make my best books of the year. But the one that I forgot about, it was a Red Tower book, and like Red Tower usually goes hard and usually has pretty good representation on there, and other than Onyx Storm, I don't think. The Briar Bolin book. That one I think is Red Tower. But The Never List by Jade Presley was another one that I really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with, and it's a why choose romance. So like maybe Goodreads is not ready for that yet. I don't know. But I would have been really excited to see this one also. For those of you that also love this book 2 just got announced. Coming out in May, I think. There's no cover or anything like that. I don't even think there's a title. I just saw on Amazon, pre-order The Never List 2 today, and I was like, ooh, that's exciting. But anyways, it's like a why choose romantasy where she has to like choose all of the princes in order to have this marriage. It's like literally why choose. And I don't know, it was a fun time. I am really excited to see the second book of the series. Let's talk about mystery thrillers. Now these 2 books that I have here are merely just surprises. These are merely just books that I thought would have been on there, not saying that they have representation because I don't think they do. But the first one being The Woman in Suite 11 by Ruth Ware. Now I am not up to speed on the mystery thriller genre. I don't know, maybe something happened. And also I didn't check to see if this has a high enough rating that it would have even made there, because I know like that's why Riley Sager wasn't in the thriller category, because it didn't have a 3.5. All I know is that Ruth Ware is a pretty popular author. She's been nominated in previous years. This is a sequel to The Woman in Cabin 10, which like is a huge book. It's getting an adaptation, a show, or a movie or something. I don't know. Like I said, not up to speed on the thriller category or any of that. but I was just very surprised that this one was not nominated, at least into the top 20. I don't know. I could be very off here, but I just would have thought that this one would have been on there. And then the other one is the new Finlay Donovan. Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave, I think. This one I think I'm less surprised about just because like it is the like, you know, 5th book I think in this series. I don't know, I stopped reading them after 3. They're good, they're fun books, they're good palate cleansers. Like there's not a lot of mystery books in this category as a whole. Like for calling it the mystery thriller genre, there's not a lot of mystery representation, and so I think this would have been cool to see. If you watched Leandra from Leandra the TBR Zero, she actually did a whole thing where she was like, if mystery had a category, and she like nominated her own books, which I think was a really fascinating. I'll leave that video down below. I think it was a really cool idea. But she's right. The mystery and thriller category should be split, just like we had the fantasy and the romantasy, or the romance and the romantasy split off, because those genres are so different, right? You can't judge them the same, and also the audiences are so different, specifically in the mystery and thriller category. There are a lot of people that read thrillers that don't read mystery, and vice versa. There's a lot of people that read mystery that don't read thriller, and so that's my petition. Not that it like affects me at all, but I do think that the mystery and thriller category should be split. And so I think had that happened, this would have definitely been in there just because of the name recognition and like the popularity of the series. Now moving on to the horror category, I actually I want to applaud Goodreads for the representation in the horror category. We had a lot of authors of color. We had a queer representation in the horror category. I think as a genre, I do think that horror tends to be like, it leads the pack in representation. It leads the pack in like diversity and inclusion. And so because publishing is putting out these books, that means that people are picking up these books, and therefore the Goodreads category is reflected in that. And so when I talk about the fact that like Goodreads has a problem, it's actually the fact that publishing has a problem, and Goodreads is just reflecting the problem that we have with publishing. So that's my little soapbox. I'll get off it now, but horror did have a pretty good category in terms of diversity and inclusion, but there was one on there that I really liked, and I really wish it would have been on there. I will say I did not read a ton of horror this year, and so like most of these books in the category I didn't even read. I'm really excited that Chuck Tingle got nominated and Lucky Day is on there. That wasn't my favorite from him, but I'm still really excited for him. But the one that I think is missing is Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. I can't remember if her previous books were nominated or not, but this one is my favorite from her. This one I think like really amped up both the sci-fi and the horror. I think you could put this in either category, but the end of the book definitely is horrific, and there's a lot of blood and alien guts and things like that. And so I would call it like it's sci-fi horror. I don't know, it's that great genre blend. And maybe this is me being biased. I really like space horror. I really like the fact that like it's your brain playing tricks on you, but is it? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is actually something in the corner of your eye. And I don't know, I just think this was a really, even though it was really short, I think it was a really complete story. I think it was really good. And I probably would have voted for this one had it been nominated. I'm gonna bridge the gap from horror to sci-fi with another one that I think probably would have landed in the sci-fi category. Again, it could have landed in either one, but Overgrowth by Mira Grant. This one has so much representation and so much social commentary, and I really, really wish that this book would have been on there. Not that it would have gone very far, because I think that people were, like, this smacked people in the face with its commentary and its message to people, and I think that's why some people didn't like it, but it's an important message. It's a message that people really, really need to hear about, and it takes immigration and like makes it on a universal scale, and by universal I mean like, you know, aliens. And so these, you know, are humans, are people of this country, America, we're just very upset that there were aliens in their land that were taking their jobs. And like, if that sounds familiar to you, you know, you just turn off the news. It's the same thing. But it did it in a really humorous way, right? We had like almost Little Shop of Horrors vibes to it. I do think that this book was very much mismarketed. It was like Annihilation meets Body Snatchers or something like that. And I don't think that that was the greatest comp for it, and so because of that I don't think that it got the recognition that it deserved, but I really liked it. I think that like I said, the message was really, really powerful. Another category that I think did really well with its representation is young adult, and that's really exciting to me because that means that young adult publishing is pushing queer stories, is pushing inclusion and diversity and representation, and that is exciting to me because those teenagers are going to grow up and they are going to start reading adults. And so then maybe by the time we get there, we will have more inclusion in Goodreads. But you know, until then we have to fight this fight. So I will say in both the young adult fiction and the young adult fantasy, we did see a lot of representation, but one that I thought would have been on there was Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reed. This is a sapphic Hunger Games inspired story where basically it's like a dystopian world, and if you have enough debt, if you have too much debt, you have too much like credits building up, then you have to join this competition where you have to essentially run for your life from the government cyborg that is like built and designed to kill, like hunt and kill. So she has to go into this competition because her mother has too much debt, and so she has to go in there. But instead of running for her life and being hunted by this cyborg, she falls in love with the cyborg-ish. I wouldn't call this a romance. I wouldn't necessarily say that it has a happy ending per se, and so like don't go into it as thinking it's a romance. But I think, again, it has a really, really powerful commentary, a really powerful message. And it also deals with a lot of like complicated family dynamics, which again is really important in YA. And I think Ava Reed has been nominated before, I believe for A Study in Drowning. I didn't do the research on this. This is just a rant video. I just made a list of books and I was like, why aren't these on here? But that's really the only young adult book that I am surprised was not on there. However, I did not read a lot of young adult books this year. And so there could be more out there that should have been on there that you know you thought would have been on there. Let me know down in the comments below. Before I get into the romance category, because I have a lot to say about that one, let's quickly talk about fantasy. And I do think that this one could have been in the romantasy or the fantasy category because book one was fantasy, but that was the year that romantasy started, and so we weren't really sure what that genre meant. But The Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare. Cassandra Clare is a staple in the book publishing industry. Like, her name is everywhere. And I don't know that a lot of people talked about this one as much as they did Swordcatcher, but Swordcatcher did really well in the fantasy category. I want to say it was like top 5 or 6 if I remember correctly, and that was like a really heavy hitting category. This is book 2 in it. I didn't love it as much as I did Swordcatcher, but I really had a good time with it, and I don't know, it just feels like a really big snub to Cassandra Clare to not be nominated for something. Because when she was writing her young adult series, the Mortal Instruments and that whole series there, every single time that book was on there. And so I don't know, it's just interesting to see that this one wasn't even like in the top 20. However, the fantasy category is stacked this year, and so I don't know. Again, this one also might not even have a 3.5. I don't know. All right, romance. I have so much to say about this category. If you look at the 2025 books that are on this list and you look at the 2024 list, they are the same thing in a different color, a different font, okay? They are the same books, most of them by the same authors. We have so many repeat authors that are on here, and it's so frustrating. And then not only that, but we have repeat authors in the same nomination. We have 2 Ali Hazelwood books, we have 2 Bryn Weaver books, and no shade to either one of those authors, okay? Like, good for you. Kudos. I'm so glad that people are loving your book. However, they don't need the recognition for 2 books. It's so frustrating. Because here's the thing, especially as content creators, when the Goodreads nomination comes out, we get really excited about it, right? Those are 20 books in a category that get to be highlighted, get to be on the front page, front and center. And a lot of these books I've never heard of, okay? Not necessarily like in this category, I've heard of all of them. But it is great promotion, great recognition for these authors, and some of them are self-published and indie authors, and it's, I don't know, it's just really frustrating. As somebody who works with indie authors who would like, you know, if one of my authors ended up on this list, like, that would be life-changing. It's frustrating to me when this happens, where we have books that are like, that, I don't know. I feel like you should only be allowed to have 1 book on here. You get to pick one and you go with it, okay? Because on the flip side of that, I don't know, do the authors even like this? Because like now we're splitting votes because you can only vote for 1 book. So all of Ali's fans are now voting for either Problematic Summer Romance or Deep End. And so then like neither one of them is going to win, right? Like, what happens there? And I have done a vlog where I read all of the Goodreads Choice Awards from a certain category since 2022. In 2022, I did romance, then I did fantasy, and then I did romantasy, and I'm doing romantasy again this year. It's a wonderful project. It's one of my favorite things to do all year. In 2022, when I did the romance category, I read Mia Sosa. I read The Wedding Crasher, and that ended up being one of my favorite books of the year. And it was the first book that I had read from Mia Sosa. And since then, I have read a large amount of her backlist, not all of of it because she has a very large backlist, but I have dabbled in all of her other series. And so I don't know, it's just, it's sad when like I could have found a favorite author, but no, I have 2 Ali Hazelwood books on here and 2 Bryn Weaver books on here. And it's just, I don't know. I do think that When Hobby Dumped Mari could have been on at least the top 20. This one I have not read yet. It is on my list to do, but it came out at a time where I was not reading a lot. And so I just haven't picked it up yet. This is a prime example of like being able to find a new author, an author of color, and you know, maybe find someone who you could be obsessed with. I don't know. Listen, I'm ranting and I'm probably gonna lose subscribers over this, but I don't care. I need to talk about it. Let's talk about some queer books that were not on there. Okay, Goodreads, let me give you some examples of books we could have put on there because we didn't have a single queer romance on there. Okay, Katie Robert has been nominated before. Not recently. This, I can see why it's not. It's the 8th book in a series. It is, like, you have to really follow along, and with the exception of like Wind and Truth, there weren't a lot of later books in any category. There weren't a lot of later books in the nominations. I want to say maybe like Book of Azrael had book 4 on it, but there were a lot of like books 1s or book 2s in a lot of the different categories, and so I can see why this one wasn't, but it is Katie's first Achillean romance, and so I just wanted to shout it out and you know, talk about it for a minute. But these ones are all standalones or book 1s, okay? We could have put them on here. And one of them got a Barnes & Noble exclusive, so like it was popular enough for that. Dream On, Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. She's been on here multiple times. Where is she this year? Okay, I love this book. This is such a cute book. It's a sapphic small town romance where a girl has had to go back to her hometown to take care of her sister, and she ends up running this diner. She wants to be a costume designer, and then a movie comes into town, and the lead on this movie was actually the girl that she kissed at like summer camp or something like that. It's been a while since I've read this one, but like it was really, really cute, and like it's messy and it's got a lot of drama in it, but I love Ashley. I love her books. I think that there's so much representation beyond the LGBTQ plus representation. There's mental health rep and just so much that's in here. I think the only book that I didn't love from her was her Christmas story last year. That one was just disappointing, but everything else has been like a banger. Then we have My Best Friend's Honeymoon by Meryl Wilsner. This one did not get the recognition that it deserved, okay? This is a female non-binary romance, which like we need to see more representation of. There's not nearly enough non-binary romance representation in publishing, especially not in TradPub. So I'm really excited that St. Martin's did like actually publish this and like we didn't just lose the story to the void. It's a really, really fun summer romance. There's a lot of like self-discovery in this book and, you know, finding out that like maybe you do love your best friend, and it's really cute and sweet, and Meryl puts so much, again, so much representation beyond the queer representation in the books. Like Clean Cute is one of my favorite books that they have ever written. It might be one of my favorite romances of all time, not only because of the sapphic representation and the fact that it's a sports romance, but also because of the ADHD representation. I read that book right after I was diagnosed with ADHD, and so it was so relatable to me, and it was like so much of the stuff that they were finding out about themselves I had literally just found out about myself, and so that was like a right time, right place kind of book. And so since then I have absolutely loved Meryl's books, and I do think that Meryl has been nominated in previous years. Like I said, I didn't do a ton of research on this video, but I don't know, I was just, can we have gay books, Goodreads, please? Like, I would love to do a romance vlog from Goodreads, but I would have just read a whole bunch of straight white romances, and I don't want to do that. And then the last sapphic romance that didn't get a ton of like love and support, and also like just came out in September, so I don't think a ton of people knew about it, but The Devil She Knows by Alexandra Belfiore, another author that has been on the Goodreads Choice Awards before, and this is like a paranormal-ish romance where she falls in love with a demon, which is just so much fun. I have not read this one yet, like I said, just came out, but it is on the list to hopefully get to before the end of the year. And then there are a couple books that I just think like are true Goodreads snubs. The first one being Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I did look at the numbers on this one. This one has like over 150,000 ratings. What's happening? It's a book 2, sure, and book 1 also did not get nominated last year, which I think is just criminal. See what I did there? But it's interesting to see that we have 2 Bryn Weaver books that are the same style of book, but we don't have Nevessa Allen. And I don't know if it's because like Nevessa's books are a little bit darker. They do kind of lean, I don't know. The Butcher and Blackbird series, I think, was like tried to market itself as dark, but it really isn't. And so Lights Out was the book that like actually corrected that and like actually was a dark romance but still had humor in it and still had some like lightness and brevity to it. And I also think because we didn't see any dark romance in this category, my secret hope was that we would have gotten a dark romance category. Obviously like that was a pipe dream. It wouldn't have happened, but dark romance is like starting to blow up on TikTok, and so I was like kind of hopeful. Maybe next year, who knows? These planes are really screwing up my filming. They usually do not. They usually don't fly over the house until the afternoon, so I filmed in the morning thinking I'm going to be great. And no, now they're flying overhead, and they're very loud. I love living just south of a military base. Anyways, I don't remember where I was when the planes decided to interrupt me. I think because we didn't have really like any dark romance representation outside of like Scythe and Sparrow and Tourist Season, which like is not really dark romance. The dark romance fans are out there, and if we would have given them a book, then like maybe it would have done well. I don't know, but there's not a ton. There's no representation. Rena Kent also was not on there. Sarah Kate was not on there, and I don't know. I just think that that's interesting, but not surprising. The other one I'm pretty surprised to see was not on there was Burning Daylight by Emily McIntyre. Maybe it's because like I'm on Emily's street team, and so that's my corner of Instagram and TikTok, and like I don't know, I thought Emily was kind of the book talk darling. She survived cancer, and I think everyone rallied for her. This book I think was on the USA Today bestseller list. Don't quote me on that, but it was one of the bestseller lists when it came out, and it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. It is a little bit darker, again, so maybe Goodreads just isn't ready for that, but it is, I don't know, she had a really popular series. It got sprayed edges, it got a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, like it got a lot of things, and why didn't it get any love from Goodreads? I don't know. And then another author that I really thought would have been on there, but again, maybe it's just because of the circles that I am in and that I'm seeing it a lot, but like Lila Sage put out 2 books this year. Neither one of them were on it. Okay, I could see if we were going off of the I don't want to do last books in series or late books in series. Sure, this is book 4, and it's not really one that you can like start with. I guess you could, but like you'd be really, really confused and spoiled by the other romances. But like this is book 1, and it came out in September, so like maybe not as many people know about it, but she did a whole national book tour that like sold out. I couldn't even get tickets to the one in Salt Lake where she lives. I don't know, I'm very surprised that Lila Sage did not get any recognition. I don't know that she's ever been nominated before, but I hope one day that she gets the recognition that she deserves. Maybe book 2 in this one, because I'm really excited about book 2. I think I've rambled enough. I think I've ranted enough. I will get off of my soapbox now. But come on, Goodreads, there's really, really good books that were published this year, and we decided to do the same things within a different color. It's so frustrating when I can look at the top 20 and in most of the categories can tell you exactly which one's going to win. And again, it's not necessarily Goodreads' fault, although Goodreads is obviously a big proponent. They are owned by Amazon. They do have a big stake in this game, so they're pushing out the books that like they want to sell more of, right? But I don't know, there's so many books out there that get published every single year. There's so many authors that are just trying to like find a name for themselves, trying to get their book out into the world, and instead we just keep platforming the same people. So that is my frustration. However, that being said, I'm still going to do a Goodreads vlog. I'm still going to make content surrounding the Goodreads Choice Awards, partially because like it's just fun to read, you know, books in a category that have been listed by something, and another reason is just because like I am a content creator and that content does well. So am I a part of the problem? Perhaps. I don't know, but I'm hoping that I can use my platform to at least like uplift some other books. I think I am going to be doing a video. I always do a like 2026 releases video in December, but I think I'm also going to do another one where it's like 2026 releases from self-published authors, or like, you know, maybe debut self-published authors, ones that like are really just trying to like, you know, get themselves out there. This is a really, really packed crowd. Writing a book in 2025, 2026, like that's so scary. It's so hard to do because so many people are trying to write books, writing books, and then you add in like the addition of AI and like that into marketing and publishing and all the other stuff. It's just really hard to get out there, and so I want to do what I can to help, you know, elevate their platforms as much as I can. I mean, I have a platform both here and on TikTok, and so like I might as well do some good with it. So if you have any self-published books that you know of that are coming out in 2026, let me know down below. Also, if you have any books that were snubbed that you thought should have been in the Goodreads Choice Awards, also let me know in any of the categories, because there are some categories that like I'm just like not aware of. Fiction, historical fiction, like I don't even know what's going on in that category, those categories. So let me know down below. If you're not feeling chatty, let's do like the angry face emoji. If you do want to watch my predictions video, if you missed it, I'm gonna put it right here for you. And then I am going to put my playlist where I did my Goodreads Choice of Vlogs. I'll put all of them into a playlist for you if you want to check all of them out. But trust me, the one from 2022 might not be great because I was a baby booktuber back then. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, my threads, my Goodreads, my TikTok, and my Patreon are gonna be all linked down below if you want to check me out there. My TikTok is a little bit different, but it is still bookish adjacent. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!